Let's open some product, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Millzy, back with Hometown Opens, the show where I open up some product for you, and Wilds of Eldraine is officially out. I got my stuff in. I recorded a video of me opening a bundle. You'll see that up on the channel already, but today we're going to open up a full set booster box of Wilds of Eldraine. Normally I do collector boxes, but I decided this time around to spend a little bit less, but mainly because there's one Enchanting Tales in every pack. I thought, hey, why not go for the most set boosters I can? Get to see as many, 30 Enchanting Tales in this box with the potential of getting more than one in a pack. And of course, seeing more, you could potentially get more than one, right? Or of course, more than one rare. Set boosters are just a ton of fun. And I collect art cards as well. So I always like doing the set boosters. You get at least for me, more bang for my buck. That way, there she is, the Ginger herself. And discover the coolest cards there. The inserts are always interesting. Don't really mean much to me, but they're kind of interesting. But all right, so in each set booster, we get a basic land, of course. I believe they're 1 in 3 on getting full art lands. Of course, we have in potential to get a card from the list, which happens 1 in about every 4 packs. So I'm hoping to see, of course, 6, maybe 6 or 7 in the box. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, we're trying to get packs with more than one rare. That's our hope. We can get packs with more than one rare. But let's do it. Here, first up, we see art card in the back. It looks like these packs were printed differently, so we remember that. Balluna Grand Scroll. This is our Teamer Adventures Commander. Got a video for this coming out later this week. Excited about this one. Love the art on that one. So it looks like the packs are flipped because it looks like they are printed a little bit differently. So we're just going to do it. We get a card from the list. Dwarven Miner. Kind of an interesting card there from the list. Sky Beast Trackers are foil. Leyline of Abundance. All 5 Leylines got a reprint in the Enchanting Tales. All interesting cards. If they start in your opening hand, you can put them on the battlefield. And then all have an effect. This one, when you tap a creature for mana, you get an additional green. And then for 8 mana, you can put a counter to creature control. Kind of an interesting card. And again, love the new art on all of them. We see Griffonaries. This pack had 2 from Enchanting Tales. Classic card for life gain decks to get a token every turn. Cool part is it's at the beginning of your, or only in your turn, beginning of your end step. And then we see Kellen, the Fey-Blooded, as our rare. Kellen is, of course, one of the new character introduced in the Wilds of Eldraine, and will be potentially a new main character or an important character going forward in this next arc of the story. I expect to see this card see a lot of play in equipment decks. Its adventure sorcery is like Steel Shaper's Gift or Open the Armory, which is a great effect in those kind of decks. I like that it's Aura or equipment, so you can play this in any red-white equipment or Aura's deck that you have, or even if you had a third color. Double Strike and other creatures get +1/+1 for each equipment or Aura attached to him, which is pretty cool. That then makes it easier to go wide and get more benefit. Only 1 rare in that pack. Again, I absolutely love the art in this set, just like the original Throne of Eldraine. The art is just so cool. Stroke of Midnight, a new removal spell. I expect to see a lot of play. Does a very similar thing to Generous Gift or a Beast Within, 2 cards that are very well played in Commander. But instead of a 3/3 token, this one gives a 1/1 human. So I expect this to be a little bit better than Generous Gift, of course, because you're giving your opponent a smaller creature. And of course, at uncommon, so they're going to be hopefully very easy to find. Ash Party Crasher there, one of our signpost uncommons. And we got a foil Swamp. That's pretty cool. Cool to see a full art land there. Again, I try my best to get as many full art lands as I can, but I still to this day don't like that they're not in every pack. I feel like if we're gonna make them, they should be in every pack for us to enjoy. Haven't seen this art card yet. This is Court of Lochthwain. The courts are the commander cycle of enchantments. They're all pretty cool. We see a food token here. Red Tooth Vanguard is our foil. Season of Growth, a great reprint. A card that, of course, is fairly well played in Commander, giving you some scrying when things come in, and then allowing you to draw cards when you cast things on your own creatures. Spiteful Hex Mage. When it enters the battlefield, create a cursed roll token attached to target creature you control. Kind of interesting. 1 mana human, that's a 3/2. That's probably going to end up being pretty helpful. And in worst case scenario, you can just throw that roll on a token if you have access to it. Here we go. We see our first court of the box, Court of Ardenvale. So again, all of the 5 courts are the same. They all come in and make you the monarch. And then you have an ability at the beginning of your upkeep, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. If you're the monarch, put it on the battlefield instead. Pretty classic white effect to bring things back. I like that. I expect these to see a lot of play in Commander if the effect is relevant for you. Two-Headed Hunter. Monstrous Rage. I absolutely love, 1 mana pump spells. And this one's pretty cool, giving a +2/+0, and then getting in a roll, giving a +1/+1 in trample. So +3/+1 in trample for 1 mana is pretty cool. Here we get to see a couple of our candy cards, Candy Trail and Gingerbread there. Love seeing Gingerbread get a reprint. Not a very expensive card, but again, originally came in Throne of Eldraine, so it's cool to see it get reprinted again, especially with some cool new art. What do you guys think of Wilds of Eldraine so far? It's a cool set. I'm excited to see some more of it and get to play with some of it. Here we have Evolving Wilds, that art that we got to see a while back in the preview. Vega the Watcher from the list, kind of an interesting card from Kaldheim. Redtooth Genealogist. Ooh, Utopia Sprawl, one of the ones I was very happy to see get a reprint. A great green aura for most decks if you include green, because you can get 1 of your lands can tap for 2 mana. The mana that originally was going to tap for, and a mana of additional color. But of course, great for enchantment decks as well to help you ramp. Spectre of Mortality, 5 mana, 3/3 flying. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you can exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. When you do, each other creature gets a -X, -X on turn, where X is the number of cards exiled this way. Interesting, 5/5 flyer can do a little bit of a, hopefully, one-sided board wipe if you can take some of your opponent's creatures out that way. Oh, and we get a borderless Restless Fortress. This is the new cycle of dual lands on the set. We see 5 of them. And I believe all 5 of them are the castles. I could be wrong on that, or some of them might be based on the castles. I believe this is Ardenvale. As you can see, the borderless one here, they all can be animated to call back to those Battle for Zendikar lands that you can animate and make a creature. But the cool is they all have an ability every time they attack. So this one attacks, defending player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I love the art of these guys. I'm not sure how well they're going to get played, but I love them, again, trying new things and making new lands. We have another rare, Lady of Laughter, Celebration. So Celebration is the new kind of named mechanic. It says at the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more of X non-permanents enter the battlefield, then you do X effect. And this one is draw a card. It's kind of interesting. It's fairy, 5 mana fairy, flying. Cool little card, and it can draw you some cards. We see our commons and uncommons here. Etriet's Whisper, one of the 3 main, featured characters of the set, and we do see her on the box for the set booster box here. Ooh, what do we got here? I haven't seen this one yet. This is Spiteful Hexmage. Did we open that one? We might have. But anyway, cool. I love the art cards. That's something I collect. Ooh, what a great card from the list. Candy Manufacturer. What a great card. Of course, very useful in decks like Jan Jansen, or other decks that can make a lot of treasures to get used. And of course, you can make 1 of each instead of that. Of course, very well used in decks like Corvold or Chatterfang. Love this card. Good to see it get a reprint on the list. Here we go. We got a foil Spectre of Mortality. We just looked at that one. Dawn of Hope is our rare. Not my favorite enchantment in the world. I could definitely feel like this one could have been printed at uncommon. But whenever you gain life, you could pay 2 if you do draw a card. 4 mana gets you a soldier with lifelink. Again, it's a good enchantment. It's just not my favorite thing in the world. And there we go. One of them that I was very excited to see reprinted. Garruk's Uprising. This card has gotten decently expensive. But it's, of course, well needed in those green decks. Happy to see it get reprinted. One of my favorite green enchantments of the last year or two. I think this was M21 originally. But happy to see this one reprinted and happy to get one. And then a Tale for the Ages, a card I'm excited to try out. Enchanted creatures you control get +2/+2. This goes right into those Elevere Precons, or even in your Kellen deck if you're going to play Auras. But great card, excited to try that one out. Again, Adventure is back, which is pretty darn cool. We talked about Balluna there at the start of the opening here. Card I'm excited to try to brew around. And it's cool to see Adventures actually get some better support. And I know we got a Bant Adventure Commander, but I think I like the Teamer a little bit more. I'm excited to see what we can do with it. Well, here we go. Here's Talion. And that's the, I believe the Borderless art for him. And that's stamped there. That's pretty cool. Human Token. Prophetic Prism gets a reprint with some new cool art. I like that. And we get Shared Animosity. Yes, this is one of the rares I was hoping to get. Of course, great for your Go Wide Tokens decks. It says whenever creature you control attacks, it's +1/+0 until the turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it. This card is going right into my Ovika list that I'm building. Love this card, and I love the new art. Fawn's Bane Troll, 4-mana 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you make a monster roll token attached to it. So basically it becomes a 5/5 with trample. 1 sacrifice an aura attached to it, and it fights target creature you don't control. If that creature would die, exile it instead, activate only as sorcery. Kind of interesting. You just see the troll there. Here we go. Sagas are back, and they're all pretty cool. Again, I love the art on Sagas. Love that they're back. And if you happen to pick up that Abzan Precon, Enchantress Precon from Commander Masters, there's a new Abzan Sagas Commander, and there's lots in this set that you could potentially add. This one's pretty cool. Again, I love the art in this set. It's all so cool. I think that was the one thing I loved about Throne of Eldraine as well, was just how every card had great art. You know, I've told my friends multiple times, the thing I love the most about Magic these days is just how cool the art is. Even commons have such cool art. And that's why I collect the art cards, because there's so much cool art to look at. We've got Heartflame Duelist. See the fire going out around them. Ooh, new treasure token. I love the art for the treasures. Treasures, clues, food. You know, they always get new updated art, and it's fun to see. Royal Treatment. Target creature you control gains hexproof and gets a royal roll token attached to it, which is +1/+1 and ward 1. That's kind of cool. So it's kind of a snakeskin veil, you know, that type of effect where you give a creature hexproof, but this time you get a royal roll token attached to it. That's pretty cool. Ooh, Intangible Virtue, a enchantment I was happy to see reprinted. Great for token decks, even though your tokens +1/+1 and vigilance. Love this card, and I love the art for it. Charming Scoundrel. Haste, when it enters the battlefield, choose one, discard a card or draw. So a little loot, treasure, or a wicked roll. So that's pretty cool. 2 mana and with haste, and it does something when it comes in. Well, the Acolyte there, another adventure card. Another Royal Treatment. So here's a Sir Armount. This is the signpost uncommon for the Enchantress, you know, sub-theme. When it enters a battlefield, you get a monster roll attached to a target creature you control, and then everything gets +1/+1. So definitely an interesting card for limited, or if you want to try making a commander deck around that, I'm sure it'd be pretty cool. And then there we see a full art foil island. That's pretty cool. So it's from the Wizards article here. It says 33% of packs have it and 20% of packs have a foil land. Ooh, that's cool. I think that's what, Kindred Discovery, right? No, Curiosity. That's Curiosity, and that is cool. Cool art for that. Get a food token. Foil is Feed the Cauldron. Waste Not. There we go. Cool, interesting reprint. Of course, very well useful in a deck like Turgid, or probably something like Nekasar, you know, the decks where you hear about drawing and your opponent's discarding things. But cool card, love the art on that. And there we are. We saw our art card earlier in the opening, but here she is, Balluna Grand Squall, our new adventure commander. What's cool about this is it's an adventure itself, which is cool because you can play that adventure from the command zone. But trample and permanent spells you cast that have an adventure cost 1 less to cast. So this will not be reduced by 1 by the adventure, but when you go to actually cast the permanent, you'll cost 1 less. So I'm excited, again, that will be coming to the channel very soon. Excited to try Bruno that, which is Vanity, another saga. Again, love seeing new sagas. Again, it's a creature type. It's a permanent type I really love. And I'm excited that they've kind of made it evergreen and they use it to tell stories instead of just keeping it in certain sets. There we go. Garruk's Uprising gets an art card. Happy to see that. Fairy Token. Cooped Up. Little fairy there in a cage. Oh, there's Curiosity, of course, very well known for being a one-card combo in Niv Mizzet, but still a cool card. Whenever you deal damage to an opponent, you can draw a card. Still a very good effect, especially if you have a creature in the air that can get through. Another Griffinary there, so two tails in that pack. Lord Skitter, Sewer King, new Rat Commander. Whenever another rat enters the battlefield under your control, exile up to one card from target opponent's graveyard. Being combat in your turn, create a 1/1 rat with this creature can't block. So another rat option, whether as your commander or go in your rat deck. Another Stroke of Midnight there, that's great. I do believe this set also has that new black-red rat commander, which can potentially add some extras to the rat, of course, tribe. Of course, most popular rat being Rat Colony. But let's see, what is this? Don't recognize that one. That actually might be, is that Rhystic Study? It is, that's the anime art for Rhystic Study. Food Token. Stormceld Vanguard. This card's kind of interesting. 2 mana gets you destroy artifact or enchantment at sorcery speed. And then it's a 6/7 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Kind of interesting for those green decks. And here we go. This is the one enchantment, whether in its regular form or anime form, I wanted to pull, and that was Aggravated Assault. This is one of my favorite red enchantments of all time. Of course, as someone who loves playing combat decks, and here is the anime art. 5 mana, untap all creatures you control. After this main phase, there's an additional combat, followed by an additional main phase. Activate only as a sorcery. I love this card, and happy to get it in the anime art here. Bramble Familiar, a new adventure creature that taps for mana, and you can pay 2 mana to put it back in your hand, and an adventure there, which is kind of interesting. So you got Galvanic Giant, Disdainful Stroke getting a reprint, which is cool. I love seeing them reprint the cheap counter spells. They're always easy to have. But again, very happy to see that Aggravated Assault. It was one that I wanted to pull, whether it was in the regular form or the anime form. It was, again, one of those enchantments I really love, and happy to get another one. Ooh, cool art there for Frantic Firebolt. Another Fairy Token. Ooh, Ground Seal and a foil. Kind of interesting. Draw a card, and cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. And it's not the best in the world, but again, love the art on it. And then Impact Tremors, another one I was hoping to grab. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. This is a great card for token decks, especially if you can make tons of them. Questing Druid. Here's one of the new adventure cards that I'm kind of intrigued at. For 2 mana, you get to exile the top 2, and until your end of your next turn, you can play those. So really cool loot effect. And then whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a counter on it. So this guy can get pretty big, and then can give you that effect there. So it is a human. It is relevant to some decks, but again, I like it. It's a good rare. Lets you loot. It's going to get big on the right decks. This card, I imagine, might see some play in standard for that reason. Old Flitterfang, another rat, legendary, but of course probably not one of the more marquee ones, but interesting nonetheless. Solitary Sanctuary. I love the art on this card. Unfortunately, just not the best in the world, but I still like the art. Foil Plains. All right, I think we're doing pretty darn well on our set booster box so far. Again, love seeing the Aggravated Assault, a card that I love so much. Of course, we would make it even better with a Smothering Tithe or a Rhystic Study or a Doubling Season. But there's Talion again. And we see Yidaro, Wandering Monster from Ikoria. Interesting card off the list. Troyan, Gutsy Explorer is our foil. And we see Stab Wound, kind of a very low cost enchantment, but it's cool. Again, still see a reprint with cool art. -2/-2 to the creature you choose. In the beginning of that enchanted creature's upkeep, they lose 2 life. So the Stab Wound is kind of interesting because you don't want to kill the creature with the aura. You want to make sure it's still alive, so they lose that 2 life every turn. Again, interesting card. And we see Agatha with the Vow Cauldron, one of our 3 marquee kind of witch type creatures or characters in the set. Activate abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha's power. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. That's pretty cool. And it says for 6 mana, other creatures you control get +1/+1 and get trample and haste until end of turn. So this will reduce her own ability, but it also will reduce all your other creatures. And we'll have Agatha coming up on the channel in a week or so. Again, love the art in this set. Titanic Growth gets a reprint. I love it. And I love looking at the art cards. I love looking at the commons and uncommons. You get to notice things you don't necessarily always see. I think more than often we open our packs and we look for rares and we look for the important things. We don't always stop and look at the others. There should be Agatha's Cauldron, right? There, her named artifact. I believe all three of the witches in the set do have one. Agatha has one. I believe Etriette has one, and I do believe Hilda has one as well. Minstrosity, kind of an interesting card as our foil. Another Stab Wound. Gruff Triplet, 6 mana, 3/3 trample. When it enters the battlefield, if it isn't a token, create 2 tokens that are copies of it. So you get 3 of them, hence the name, for 6 mana. Whenever it dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to its power on each creature you control named Gruff Triplets. They definitely get harder to kill as you get rid of them. So that's kind of a cool card. 6 mana, 3/3. Ego Drain up the Burnstock. Troyan. Archon's Glory has bargains. That's one of the new mechanics. So you can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast the spell. So +2/+2, and if you bargain it, flying and lifelink. So that's pretty cool. I like bargain. It's definitely an interesting mechanic. I'm intrigued to see how much play it sees in anything, in Commander. Are some of the more popular bargain spells going to get played? I'll be intrigued to see that. Ooh, which one is this one? That's some cool art. That is Greater Oromancy. There we go. Loving that art. We see a Magic minigame. Glass Casket sees a reprint. Of course, originally also printed in the Throne of Eldraine. Seeing a reprint, so that's pretty cool. Prismatic Omen, another rare Enchanted Tales. Lands you control are every basic type in addition to their other types. This, of course, could be helpful in a 5-color deck. Way to make all your lands tap for all the colors if you want to, or if you have a deck that cares about land types or anything like that. This is pretty cool for that. Rotisserie Elemental. Every deals combat damage to a player, put a skewer counter on it. Then you can sacrifice it. If you do, exile the top X cards of your library where X is the number of skewer counters. You may play those cards of this turn. Interesting effect, 1/1 with Menace. It may be good to just stack it up and make it big and unblockable. Again, fairies are back. We see lots of new fairy cards, which is cool. There we go, Foil Forest. Of course, one of our precons was a blue-black fairy deck, so we get to see lots of new fairies. There we go, Doubling Season gets the Goose Hydra. Love that. Another food token. Red Cap Thief. Ooh, another rare, Polluted Bonds for our Enchanting Tales. It says, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your opponent's control, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Fun effect to hurt your opponents. And then another Ground Seal. And a card I absolutely love the art for, Devouring Sugar Maw. A 4-mana 6/6. Menace Trample at the beginning of your upkeep. You may sack an artifact, enchantment, or token. If you don't, it taps. And then it can make a 1/1. I love this. This is a fun card. And I love the art. The art's so cool. Galvanic Giant. Disdainful Stroke. Another Minstrosity. Obira's Attendance. Again, love the commons in the set. Again, so much flavor, so much cool art. Sometimes it's fun to just sit and look through the commons, see what you can find. There's, what is it, Blossoming Tortoise, I believe. New card in the set, love that. Get another Magic minigame. Oh, there we go. What a great card to pull. A foil Mythic Rhystic Study. Man, I was hoping we'd hit this, Smothering Tide, like I said, or Doubling Season. One of the 3. The 3 are like those marquee ones, right, with Necropotence as like the 4 ones you want to hit, and we hit in a foil Rhystic Study. Of course, one of the most well-known blue enchantments in Commander and other formats. Love the new art for it, and again, it is a Mythic. And a Vampire Rites. Vampire Rites still a very good enchantment in its own right. I like this guy. And it's great to be able to sack a creature to gain life, draw a card. Great in those Aristocrats type decks. Thunder's Debut is certainly an interesting card. It has a bargain. Look at the top 20. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them. If the spell's bargain, put them onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put them into your hand, then shuffle. I love it. It's a classic green spell, 8 mana. Look at the top 20. You're almost going to always hit creatures. If you're in the right deck, this can definitely be very good. Put those creatures down, potentially give them haste, and hit your opponents. Eerie Interlude, I believe, gets a reprint there. Moment of Valor is a cool card. We see in Evolving Wilds get its reprint. Of course, Evolving Wilds is a very useful card to have for a lot of people, letting you search up those basic lands. And again, it's always cool to see new art for it. I can't remember the name of this card, but I've seen it cooped up with the fairy in the prison there. Beast token. This is probably my favorite art for this 3/3 beast token that we've seen. I love the art styles. Come to the Cold. Compulsion. New enchanting reprint. 1 in a blue, discard a card, draw a card. 1 in a blue, sack it to draw a card. Kind of interesting. Again, lets you recycle cards in your hand if you have extra mana. Here we see the regular version of Restless Fortress. Chancellor of Tales. And we get a full art plains. Not too many full art lands in this box. I was hoping to see a few more. But again, that's the downside, unfortunately, these days of full art lands, is you don't get them in every pack anymore. I think this is what, like some sort of song? Oh, non-crescendo. There we go with the Rat Lord there. Rat token. Armory Mice. Hey, that fits. Another Ground Seal. And a Dragon Mantle. Whenever it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Enchanted creature has red. This creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it kind of gives the creature that fire-breathing effect. Kind of interesting. I don't think I'd ever actually seen this one before until I saw it reprinted, of course, in the list. So I thought that was cool. And Spreading Seas. Enchant a creature. Enchant a land. When it comes in, you draw. And that land is an island. It's kind of an interesting card. Godric, Cloaked Reveler. A 3/3 with haste. Earth Elemental. Okay. Like I said, the commons and uncommons you see them a lot when you open up products, but again, still cool. I love the art on them, and then later, of course, I want to go through and look at them all. There we go. Court of Vantress is our art card. Another food token. Wildwood Mentor. This card's kind of interesting. When a token enters the battlefield under your control, you put a counter on it. And then when it attacks, another creature gets +X/+X until end of turn where X is its power. This is kind of an interesting card, especially in a tokens deck where you're going to always have tokens coming in, and it's going to get pretty big and allow another creature to get pretty big. Kind of a cool card. Hatching Plans. When it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw 3 cards. So an interesting enchantment there. We see another one of the Restless Lands, Restless Bouviac. Turns into an Ox. When it attacks, you put a counter on target creature you control. Kind of interesting. Food Goma. What a great name for a card. Soulglide Lantern gets a reprint. That's great. The card's always pretty helpful, especially if you're trying to hose out those graveyard decks. We see another Full Art Swamp. It's interesting. The last time Soulglide Lantern got reprinted, it was still going for almost $1. So we'll have to see what that's going for. I actually don't know. Maybe Tithe? Great Oromancy. I think we already saw that one. Miri the Cursed is our list card. Flying First Strike and Haste, 4/4. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, combat damage to a creature, put a counter on it. That's kind of cool off the list. Embereth Veteran. Here we go. Goblin Bombardment, another fun one. Sack a creature to deal 1 damage to any target. Again, great for those token decks. Turn your tokens that may be already attacked but are going to disappear that turn into some damage, or potentially finish somebody out with some damage. Gumdrop Poisoner. Create a food token on the adventure, and whenever it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature gets -X/-X until the turn where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. Kind of an interesting card. Probably going to work well in all of those food decks we have coming around now, especially after Lord of the Rings and, of course, Eldraine having a food focus. I think we saw Glass Casket already. Again, a great reprint, fun card. Crystal Grotto getting a reprint there as a cool land that can mana fix, and we're getting another Full Art Forest. Of course, I'm partial to my forests. Love forests more than anything else, but again, I love all 5 of the lands in this set. They look great. Wizards has always been doing a pretty good job at their full art lands, making them look good. I think my favorites are still Kamigawa, but it's so darn close. Hatching Plans. The one lands I'm actually very excited for are Tarkir. It's been leaked. We're going to go to Tarkir in, I think, 2025 is what they said. So I'm really intrigued to see what full art lands look like on Tarkir, one of my favorite planes. Wicked and Cursed. I'm assuming Sage. And there we are, another Garruk's Uprising. Love getting another one of this one. Ooh, Hilda's Crown of Winter. So we talked about each of the witches having a legendary item, and this is Hilda's. We haven't seen her yet. 1 tap, tap target creature. This ability costs 1 less to activate during your turn, so it's free on our turn. 3, sacrifice it, draw a card for each tap creatures your opponents control. That's pretty cool. Ooh, we could see Rowan in her borderless art. 3 mana 4/2 with menace, and tap spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So we'll see what people can do with some Rakdos spells decks. Rowan's interesting. Rowan and Will are both pretty interesting in this set. They're not my favorite thing in the world, but I think they're interesting, and they have interesting designs. I think it's what we want for new commanders, right? We want new interesting designs when we can get them. We don't always want new commanders to be the same thing. Sometimes we need commanders to be new and interesting, and I think Rowan does a good job at that. Elusive Otter, and that is signed. That's pretty cool. Again, one of those arts I really like in the set. Food token. Helpless Nightmare. Here's our foil. Ooh, Knightly Valor. This card, I don't know how to feel about this one. 5 mana, I get a 2/2 when it comes in, and then a current creature gets +2/+2 and Vigilance. Again, not my favorite thing in the world, but again, love the art for it. Here's a card I'm excited to try out. Unfortunately, it doesn't go in my dragon deck of choice, but I'm sure it'll go into some other decks. Decadent Dragon. 4 mana 4/4 that can do a fun steal effect on its adventure, because on the top 2 cards of an opponent's library, and you can look and play those cards as long as they remain exiled. And then it comes down as a 4/4 flying trample. Whenever it attacks, you get a treasure. This is great for those, you know, treasury type decks that can use it. I think this would be perfect. You know, Corvold, Prosper, of course. Anything that's Rakdos and makes treasures is automatically a Prosper card, but I think this is perfect for a deck like that. And I'll have to try to find a deck that can use Decadent Dragon, because of course can't go in Miram. Gowik's First Duel, welcome to the Sweet Tooth. We can see more sagas. And there we are, Full Art Island. Well, just a couple packs left. I think we got 5 or 6 packs left. Let me know what you guys think of Wilds of Eldraine so far. Are you opening up any? Are you buying either of the precons? Again, both those decks, my upgrades to the precons, are going to be coming out in the next week or two. Shade of Numbering Depths. Very excited to cover them. Both decks that I find interesting. Of course, Fairy Tribal, very interesting. Green-White Auras. Of course, enchantments are one of my favorite types of cards in Magic, so I'm happy to see a new commander, and I will be trying that one out personally. Raid Bombardment. Love the art on this one as well. Whenever a creature controlled power 2 or less attacks, it deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. Love this type of effect, especially for those goblin types decks if you don't have a big buff on them. Rankle's Prank is a fun card. Of course, a callback to Rankle from Throne of Eldraine. And you choose one or more. Each player discards 2 cards. Each player loses 4 life, or each player sacrifices 2 creatures. It's a fun effect. Love seeing Rankle get a reference. And here he is, our Rakdos rat commander, Totentan's Swarm Piper. Whenever it or another non-token creature you control dies, you make a rat token. And then 2 mana, target attacking rat you control gains death touch on the turn. There is a red X spell, Song of Totentan's, that makes X rat creature tokens and gives all your creatures haste, that I'm really excited to try out in my Jetmir deck. I feel like that's the kind of X token spell you want. That spell is going to get tried out in multiple decks, both Jetmir and my Ovika deck. I feel like both of those decks would happily take a X token creation card. Here's Kellen, getting an art card for Kellen. That's pretty cool. We see Survival Cache off the list. This is from Iconic Masters. Gain 2 life, and if you have more life than your opponent, more life than an opponent, draw a card and rebound. Kind of interesting. Well, there we are. There's Etriet's Tempting Apple. We've seen 2 of them so far. Kind of cool. Intangible Virtue, which you've seen already. Feral Encounter. This is a card I'm very intrigued to try. You get to look at the top 5 and pick a creature from among them. You can cast it this turn, and at the beginning of combat, you get a bite type effect. It's a card. I'm going to try to try this one out and see what it does for me. And there he is. We talked about him earlier and having a saga in the set. We didn't get to see his saga, but we see his new card, Corvold Gleeful Glutton. Corvold's back. Of course, not as good as his original card, but I'm happy to see him come back again. It's cost 1 less to cast for each card type among permanents you sacrifice this turn, so you could potentially get him down for pretty cheap. Flying Trample Haste And whenever it does combat damage to a player, you put X +1/+1 counters on it and draw X card, where X is the number of permanent types among cards in your graveyard. Again, different than the original Corvold. You could argue it's been fixed a little bit, but again, I still love Corvold. He's one of my favorite Jund commanders that's ever been printed, and this one is pretty cool. Hopefully this is a way for you to maybe put this in the command zone instead of the old Corvold, maybe get a little bit less hate, because Corvold definitely gets a lot of hate out of the command zone, and it deserves it. It is a very good commander. But happy to see him get a new version and get referenced again. Of course, his original card being one of the 4 commanders that was released in the original Brawl decks in Throne of Eldraine. And good to see him come back. We get I believe this is Unnatural Growth, another enchantment that I'm happy to see reprinted. Human, Intrepid Truffle Snout, another Compulsion. And we see Restless Vinestalk as another Restless Land. Kind of cool, blue-green. Tough Cookie. Love stuff like that. Just a good reference. Knight of Sweets Revenge, Tough Cookie, and Greta being our food commander in the set. Kind of cool. Again, I love all that the sweets reference. Oh, we had more packs than I expected left. And Greta being the commander for it. There was that Stab Wound as our art card. Ooh, Rick's Mahdi. Dungeon Palace is our card from the list. 1 in a black, tap each player discards a card. Activate this only anytime you cast sorcery. Interesting. Fairy Fencing. Grasp of Fate. Love seeing this card get a reprint. Great enchantment is going to go great in all those new green-white auras decks. And we see Will. We get to see Rowan earlier, and now we see Will. Tap spells you cast this turn that are white and or blue cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn, activate only as a sorcery. So again, both Will and Rowan are interesting. They do interesting things. Excited to see what people can build with them. And we get a Showcase Pollen Shield Hair. For 1 green, you can target creature you control gets vigilance and +X on a turn where X is the number of creatures you control. That is a kind of a cool effect. And then you put it down, and creature tokens you control get +1/+1. I see this being a card that's going to be really well used in green-white token decks. You know, this is a great card for something like that, buffing all your tokens, and I think it's going to see some good effects. So if you built a Galton Maverick deck from March of the Machine, or a classic tokens deck, or you're playing something like Jetmir or Jinnife, I think this is a deck that could go, or a card that could go really well into that. And we see Throne of Eldraine. This card is, of course, referencing the first Eldraine set. It's an interesting card. When it comes in, you choose a color. You tap to add 4 mana of the chosen color, but can be only spent on monocolored spells. And for 3, tap, draw 2 cards, spend only mana of the chosen color to activate its ability. I think this is going to be an interesting card. Does it see play in monocolored decks, especially for being 4 mana for, 5 mana is a great rate for a mana rock, if you think about it. I'm intrigued to see. I don't think I'm going to throw this in Goreclaw, but I think it's an interesting card, and I'm intrigued to see what people do with it. There we are, Corvold and the Noble Thief. We see his saga as well. Again, I'm excited to see Corvold back, even if it's not as good as the original one. Corvold is such a fun commander, fun dragon. I'm not sure on that one. Maybe Omniscience? Yep, Omniscience, the anime art. We get just an ad card. And there we go, a foil Grasp of Fate. Again, a card I'm happy to see. It's going to go in a couple decks. And I love getting the foil one there. And there we are, Natural Growth, another card I'm happy to see reprint at the beginning of each combat. Double power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. And it goes off on every combat, so it's great because you get to protect your creatures on your opponent's turn as well. Raging Battle Mouse, 2 mana mouse, 2/1. Second spell you cast each turn costs 1 less to cast. In the beginning of your combat in your turn, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end turn. Kind of interesting. We'll see if that thing gets any play. There we go, Brimble Familiar in the showcase art. Cool little card for those adventure decks. And I love the art. It is also an elemental, so if you have an elemental tribal deck, maybe you can put it some good duty. It's a 2 mana creature that taps for 2. So I mean, that's at the same rate you'd get with Tangled Flora Hedron, right? There's a couple of those 2 mana elementals that tap for 1 mana. So you're already on track. I'm not sure what that is. Mosswood Dread Knight. That's some cool art. Oh, man. What a card to get off the list. I love Questing Beast, and it gets a reprint here on the list. There was a joke going around for a while where there was a quiz you could take to say whether or not it was a text that was actually on the card. A 4-mana 4/4 with 4 lines of text is one of my favorite green creatures of all time and has happily lived in Goreclaw ever since the deck was created. I love this card. Cool to see it get a reprint in the Secret Lair with this pretty storybook art. But again, happy to have another Questing Beast. It's a mythic, and it is a great card. Happy to pull that. Blind Obedience, another one I'm happy to pull. Of course, getting a reprint. It's a great card. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. What a great ability. The cool part about Blind Obedience is this hybrid mana symbol is actually in the reminder text. So you can play this in any white deck. You don't have to have black in it for this card. So don't be tricked by that. This can go in any deck that has white. Horned Lockwhale, one of our another rare adventure cards. The owner of target attacking creature you don't control puts it at the top or the bottom of their library, so bounces back. Flash Ward 2 and it enters the battlefield tapped unless it's your turn. This is a cool card. I mean, 6 mana for a Flash Ward 2 isn't bad. And then 2 mana to put something back on top. This is what you want from your adventure cards. A good effect you can use at any time, and then a cool body. This reminds me of something like Brazen Borrower. And it was really good on its adventure side and was half decent on its regular side. But I think this card will see some good play in those adventure decks that people I'm sure are going to be making. 3 bowls of porridge. Fun card there. And other planes. All right, now I believe we have 3 packs left, if my eyes don't deceive me. I think we've done really well so far this box opening. I've gotten a lot of things I'm really happy about. Foil-ristic Studies, great. That full art, Aggravated Assault makes me happy. Is that regular Omniscience? Yep, that's the regular art for Omniscience, I believe. We get a food token. Knight of Doves. Cool looking art there. Oh, there we go. Another one of the big boys from the set, Land Tax. Of course, not a card I really ever played, but a great reprint nonetheless at Mythic. Sleep Cursed Fairy. Flying Ward 2 and enters the battlefield tap with 3 stun counters on it. 2 mana tap. It's a 1 mana 3/3. It's an interesting card. I'm sure people will end up playing it, but again, it looks pretty half decent in a fairy deck. Of course, it is a good body at 3/3 for 1 mana. Edgewall Inn, I believe, is a new land. Comes in tapped. When it comes in, choose the color, add 1 mana of the chosen color. 3 is sack it, return target card that has an adventure from your graveyard to your hand. So this will go well in those new adventure decks. It's a way to get things back after they've been maybe destroyed. Or remember that when you try to cast an adventure, it goes to the adventure zone after it resolves, but if your opponent counters that adventure, it just goes to the graveyard. So that might be a good way to get those back. That's our Splashy Spellcaster. Another token, roll token, Wicked and Cursed. Fairy Slumber Party, 6 mana. Return all creatures to their owner's hands. For each opponent who controlled a creature returned this way, you make 2 1/1 blue fairy creature tokens with flying. And this creature can only block creatures with flying. This is an interesting card. Of course, going to go in those fairy decks. But a cool little bounce spell. I'm sure this will get played in a lot of blue control decks as well. We see another Dragon Mantle. And a rare saga, 3 Blind Mice. On the 1, you create a 1/1 mouse. 2 and 3, you get to make a copy of another target token you control, which could be that mouse or anything else. And then on 4, creatures get +1/+1 and vigilance on turn. This could be pretty good in a green-white tokens deck. Making you some mouses or other things that you have. Mice, I apologize, or other things that you have. And our last pack magic for our set booster box. Let's see what we can get. Again, I'm very happy. We got a good cross-section of all of our Enchanting Tales. We got a good amount of cool rares from the set, a good amount of full art lands, but again, love seeing the Enchanting Tales we got. That was my main reason for getting a big set box, was in hope that we'd get some anime Enchanting Tales, which we did. We got a great one in Aggravated Assault. There's Balloona again. On Adventure, it's a token for Adventure cards. Johann's Stopgap. Oh, and what another one to get. Sneak Attack, another one of my favorite reprints. One of my favorite enchantments that got reprinted. Here we are in the anime art. Red, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. Of course, Sneak Attack is getting a lot of play in my Miram deck, a deck that I Had a lot of fun putting this card in. I have one of the Double Masters full arts for this one, but again, got another anime art. Sneak Attack, that's pretty darn cool. Dark Tutelage, fun card at the beginning of your upkeep. Reveal the top card, put your hand, you lose life, you go towards mana value. And then, yes, we pulled one. Regal Bunnycorn. This is a rare I was hoping I'd get. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of non-land permanents you control. This feels perfect for a token deck, if that's what you want to do. But where I'm excited to play Regal Bunnycorn is in the Elevere Precon with the auras. This creature can get really big. You can enchant it or enchant other things, but all you need to do is put that token, the roll token that gives a creature in trample, and then Bunnycorn's gonna be pretty hard to deal with. I love the art, but I love this card. Picnic Ruiner, Ruby, there's the Ruby, the Red Riding Hood, and a full art Mountain to finish off the box. Well, I certainly think we did darn well. Let's see, how many full art anime tails did we get? We got 1, 2 out of the box, which I feel like is pretty darn good. We got a couple mythics, right? We didn't just get the Rhystic Study, we got land tax. Got a couple really good Enchanting Tales as well. So we got a good spread on the Enchanting Tales. This makes me more happy to open up the set box. We got a lot of good stuff. We got a few rares. But again, pulling 2 anime Enchanting Tales and getting 2 very good ones at that makes me really happy. Let me know what you guys think of the opening. What do you guys think of Wilds of Eldraine down in the comments? I'd love to chat with you guys. What are you guys excited to try? And again, Wilds of Eldraine content starts this week. It's a little bit delayed due to the holiday. I was out of town, but we will be getting some content out this week. This week, we're starting with the Blue-Black Fairies precon. Next week, we're doing the Green-White Auras precon. And we'll be moving through a bunch of the new commanders. So let me know which ones you're most excited to see down in the comments, and I will catch you guys next time.